Welcome to the DraftKings Optimal Lineup and Stack Review for Week 4. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Chris Myers, who broke down this week's action as usual. You want to review a little bit about last week? I mean, a couple good plays, a couple bad ones. Obviously, D'Angelo Williams was pretty much a big disappointment across the board.
Yeah. Williams kind of sunk quite a bit of lineups where it made it tougher to cash across the board. There were a few lineups though that absolutely hit. And those were the ones with the Chiefs listed as the defense. Last week I remember kind of shrugging off the defensive position, but the Chiefs were all across the board in the optimizer, and wow, did they nail it. So needless to say, I'm not going to be shrugging my shoulders at the optimizer defenses anymore. I think I'm just going to kind of roll with it. I didn't pay attention to it as much anyways, so may as well go with what the optimizer says and see what happens, because that really paid off.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same boat. I was like, I don't know, man. Chiefs, they haven't looked good so far. Jets offense, not that bad, and then all of a sudden, Ryan Fitzpatrick shows up and gives them
sleep. Yeah.
We're looking at cash games here. You're breaking down this lineup. Pretty solid lineup in terms of kind of where the value comes from. I think Melvin Gordon's going to be one of the chalkier guys this week, and it's certainly kind of looking to be on that core.
Yeah, for sure. Gordon last week still put up decent numbers, and that was, he only had like 40, 45 rushing yards. So he did a lot of the damage through the air and with a touchdown. This week, I don't see him getting held up much at the line of scrimmage running. So I think he's going to do a nice lethal combo. He really is the only back there right now. I think he's a must play. Like you said, he's going to be used across the board, but you may as well have him in your cash lineups to cover all your bases. He's got 4 touchdowns this season already, so I think he's a must play for sure.
Yeah, I definitely do against that Saints defense. And you look here, even pairing him up with Phillip Rivers, I think with that team total, it's pretty safe. I'm not really, I don't mind Phillip Rivers, especially at that price tag, even if you want to toss him in with Gordon. And it seems like kind of an optimal way to go.
Yep, I agree. Rivers, he spread the ball out. He threw a lot of yards last week, 300 plus. No touchdowns, that was kind of the disappointing part. This week, I don't see him getting held out of the end zone too much. So I think he can throw one passing touchdown at least this week. So, Rivers makes a good play and a nice tandem with Gordon.
Yeah, definitely. And David Johnson, a guy who pops up in here, he's popped up kind of all over for this week. 7,800, not a bad price tag. Matchup, sort of average. I think with his workload, he should be pretty safe. Do you like him there?
Yeah, I do. With Gordon, I think Johnson's a safe bet, and he'd be who I'd plug in either way, with or without the optimizer. So, I like it. I don't think he's going to be, it's not a plus matchup, but it's good enough. And with Johnson, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, definitely. You just look and go. He works well in the passing game, the run game. It just kind of goes, either way with him. In terms of the wide receivers here, you look at Doug Baldwin, Cole Beasley, Antonio Brown. Beasley, 3,900, I think he was a guy, he popped up in FanDuel for me as well. I like him more here on DraftKings just because of that full point reception scoring.
Yeah, for sure. And, he's leading the Cowboys in targets and catches and yardage somehow this year. And now with Bryant as a question mark, I like him even more. If Bryant's playing, he may be more of a decoy, which can only increase Beasley's output and value. If Bryant's out, he may have a tougher matchup, but I still use him just for volume alone. And at that price, I think he makes sense this week for sure.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And Baldwin, 6,100. A little bit surprising cash games, I think, still. Obviously he's had 2 big weeks out of 3 so far. Reasonable price tag as well.
Yep. Yeah, 10 targets last week. It's got 2 touchdowns on the season, and that was, even without Wilson for a while. So I think it doesn't matter who's playing, and if Wilson tries to go, Baldwin's a safe bet for sure this week, just volume. And, if you're concerned about Revis, I don't know if you should be this year. He hasn't shut down anyone yet. This could be the week, but for now I'm taking my chances with Baldwin.
Yeah, no, I definitely am too. That Jet secondary hasn't really looked like it used to back in the day. Kind of carries much more name weight than anything this year.
Yep.
Antonio Brown, I think he's a guy who's always going to pop up regardless of what you do. He's just, the top play, week in, week out.
Yep. Yep, volume, yardage, touchdown potential, and this week I think the Steelers will be looking for blood. Last week was just terrible, so I like him, and I'm sure we'll discuss Big Ben and Antonio later too. But yeah, Brown's a must play if you can afford him. You plug him in.
Yeah, definitely. With the value that opens up this week, there certainly is there. Zach Miller, who 2,700, I think he's probably going to be, the highest on tight end. That's going down just because he is so cheap, and I'm glad to see him in here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And again, another volume thing, and who knows how the Bears are going to look. They just haven't been that good, but he's he's just a volume, good, solid tight end and reasonable price. So pop him on in there. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Michael Thomas was the interesting one. Obviously, he was come off a solid game with Willie Snead out. 3,800, put him in the flex there. Do you like him even if Snead plays, or do you kind of more see him as just an injury replacement?
yeah, I kind of see him as an injury replacement. I don't know if Snead plays, if he's full strength, it could have definitely hurt his value. When Snead's out, he got 11 targets last week. Um, So I don't know, but even this week I may still play him even with Snead just because the over under is so high. I mean, this game is projected to be 53 plus points. So combined, so I'm thinking he'll get his somehow even with Snead in the game this week. So I'm willing to take a risk with him. If Snead's there, I may not use him in cash lineups, but more in GPP.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think he look when you get, David Johnson, Melvin Gordon, Brown into a lineup, there's a reason why Thomas has to kind of come into play there um, to kind of balance things out. Looking at Steelers defense, going up against the Chiefs at home, reasonably cheap. It wasn't who I was expecting, but I said that last week too.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I put down in my notes. Like Steelers, I don't know. They they only have like two interceptions on the year, two fumble recoveries, and one sack. I don't know about this, but I doubted it last week, so we'll roll with it, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good though because you see some other guys here. I mean, Steelers pop up later in the optimizer, but moving on to GPPs, this one's quite a difference from the cash game lineup. I mean, you get Cam Newton, who is my favorite quarterback on the week,
Yep.
and it looks like he's going to be a guy who kind of leads the way here.
Yeah, for sure. Facing Atlanta, I think he's going to be uh, one of the most owned and most used quarterbacks. So, yeah, that he's in the GPP lineup, I think is good. I even use him in some cash lineups just because he's Cam. You got to play him. So, yeah, definitely good to see him in there, and that helps round out some other good value plays in this lineup here with Crowell and Pryor. Two Browns seems a little risky, but if you're going to play any two Browns, those are the two guys I would want to plug in.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Browns, I mean, that's the definition of a GPP right there is
Yeah.
Crowell and Pryor. I mean, Pryor, 4,300, really cheap. Um, I mean, the Washington defense hasn't been that great. I was expecting more out of them this year, but you look, I mean, they definitely have a shot. I mean, especially if they're going to be playing from behind to kind of work well and, you know, take some shots downfield, especially with Pryor and the way he's been kind of playing and working all roles.
Yep. Yep. I like Pryor a lot this week. He'll probably even be used a lot after that last week just because of his value and adversity. I mean, he plays everywhere now, so that's a huge plus. And Crowell's, surprisingly one of the top rushers in the game right now. So yeah, like you said, Washington's defense isn't as stout as it was last year, so at least yet. So Crowell's, I think, a good value play to combine with David Johnson and Cam for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then kind of looking elsewhere, you kind of have the same guys as David Johnson, Baldwin, Brown, Miller. All nice upside there. Cole Beasley, 3,900 there kind of for, value again. Texans defense here, who I think comes in projected pretty highly. I think the loss of J.J. Watt might turn people off, but I mean, I still like him this week. It's a nice matchup.
Yeah, same here. I mean, and Mariota hasn't been playing lights out. Tennessee will make some turnovers, and their defense is still good enough even without the disruptor Watt in their lineup. But if anything in GPP that helps, that other people won't be using it just for percentage owned. You'll have a different lineup out of by default with that. So yeah, I'm definitely fine with Texans here too. I won't deny the optimizer once again.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard after the last couple of weeks of what it's done with defense. So,
Yep.
yeah, we've learned our lesson, you and I both.
Yep.
Looking at a couple stacks here, you're looking at the Steelers who Ben Roethlisberger, we get Le'Veon Bell back this week, and Antonio Brown. Expensive stack, but one that can certainly pay off.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And Bell, I put down for GPPs. You just, I mean, you can have doubts. You don't know what he's going to do when he gets back, but the guy is elite. When he's playing, he's going to be good. And like I said, I think the Steelers are going to be trying to shoot fire from the start after last week's terrible performance. So, yeah, the stack will cost you, but there's enough good value plays out there. Again, with Thomas, Beasley showed up, same guys, that you can make it work. And I'm definitely going to be rolling with it.
Yeah, I definitely am too. I mean, I want to get some exposure, and it plugs it in kind of the same core that's been using everywhere else. Melvin Gordon, Beasley, Baldwin, those types of guys. For your second stack, I mean, I love Carolina this week as we kind of talked about it with Newton, but finally we get to see kind of the pairing options that we can use with them. Benjamin and Olsen, I'm tossing a Carolina stack for sure. I think it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah, yeah, I love this one. I love this lineup too because it used um, Jordan Howard, who's a nice affordable play, and there's just not really another option in Chicago at the back, and he can catch the ball. He ran it well, and his 9 carries, 45 yards. That's solid. Plus he can catch. So I think he makes a great pairing with Melvin Gordon along with the Carolina stack. So yeah, I'm going to be rolling this lineup pretty heavy. I think this week. I love it.
Yeah, I am too. And then, I mean, also you're still getting Antonio Brown in there, Melvin
Yeah,
Gordon. That's
yeah,
a lot. That
yep,
adds in nicely.
yeah. Yeah, the oddity would, and I'm not completely opposed to it, like you said, is the heavy use of Zach Miller. Uh, it's definitely a GPP lineup. I mean, not many people use two tight ends in their lineups, but this one's got it. But with Greg Olson, I don't have a problem with that. Plugging him in there. Uh, so yeah, this lineup I like a lot. I'm gonna definitely roll it out there.
Yeah, I definitely have to. I mean, you look, yeah, two tight ends. I mean, that's something that a strategy that, it's usually a personal choice. You really don't see it used in optimizers. But
Yeah.
I think with Miller's price tag and obviously Olsen being one of the higher scoring ones, it works out well this week.
Yep.
So that's going to wrap things up for this week's review. Be sure to head on over and check out Chris's article on the site if you want to get kind of more in-depth breakdown and see the screenshots of these lineups. And he does a review of last week. Any final notes you want to talk about here?
Not really. Just good luck, everyone. The optimizer's been really killing it in baseball too. So if you're a follower and subscribe to the MLB lineups, I've been having a lot of success this week. So use all the tools in sight. They've been fantastic. And let's go. Let's go win some money, everyone. Good luck.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, a couple days left of baseball. So if you're in there and you need to check out the optimizer, be sure to head on over and do that at dailyfantasycafe.com.